Robert, why is it so difficult for, what makes it so difficult for us to allow that religious use exemption? Why is it so difficult to grant that? Even when countries have carved out exemptions for other substances or practices, why is it difficult specifically to grant that use exemption for the Rastafari?
Thank you, Kio. Allow me to weigh in. I know my brothers, Abbas and Priest Jacobs, have highlighted a little bit about cannabis, how it is actually a plant. I just want to add that this plant from Cannabis sativa has over 500 chemical compounds, 100 of which actually have what we call a compound called cannabinoid. So the active ingredients there is THC, as you said, and CBD. THC is tetrahydrocannabinol. And actually, this compound is what is actually responsible for intoxication effect, that high that people get, and can cause a loss in concentration, can actually cause, memory loss, and sometimes the effects that it comes with, like for example, if I'm to actually tell the viewers out there, in terms of brain development, the last to be developed is usually called the prefrontal cortex, the front part of the brain, which is actually responsible for, decision-making, impulse control, self-regulation, and all that. So that is what is usually affected. And actually, the most vulnerable people are usually young people whose brain are still developing. So that kind of intoxication is actually responsible for causing so much harm in terms of sometimes people getting panic attacks, depression, sometimes susceptible to getting injuries and all that. So it has all these harmful effects. And that's why now you'll find that from many of the conventions, it is actually considered illegal, including in the Kenyan law. However, as they've mentioned, there's also another component, CBD, which is actually responsible for the derivatives of that particular compound is what is usually used to make, sometimes medicine that is used for curing or treating, some severe epilepsy, some chemotherapy induced, nausea and pain. So when you're talking about medicinal part, that one has been allowed in several countries for curing. But now when you're talking about this other effect that has caused a lot of harm, including accidents that actually have happened in the country, that is where we need to now begin to have a conversation. Because all these are consistent with WHO, UNODC, and even the national policy on prevention, management, and control of drugs in the country, where we are thinking, we are approaching it from a public health perspective, that we need people who are healthy, safe, and well-being of the entire Kenya. So we are talking about issues prevention, we are talking about issues treatment and rehabilitation, we are talking about, the multi-agency collaboration, multi-sectoral collaboration. How can we be able to work together? Because when we talk about issues of cannabis, the research that we've conducted as NACADA has actually shown that 518,000 Kenyans are actually affected by cannabis. Those are people from age 15 to 65.
When you say affected, what do you mean exactly?
Basically, now they are dependent on this particular drug, because it alters the functioning of actually the body perception, thinking, feelings, and sometimes even behavior. So these are people that have gotten to a point where they cannot stop its use. I mean, they cannot control. They are suffering despite the fact that this thing is having a negative effect on their health, on their school, or even family, or even work, the reduced productivity. So when you're talking about these numbers, you find that the young people, about 193,000 between ages 15 to 24, are affected. When you talk about, when we do our research right from primary, 0.8%. in terms of prevalence, 1.8% for secondary school. For university students, it would interest you, that is quite high, about 10.7%. So when you look at these statistics, it's not just about number. These are people. These are a young person struggling in school. This is a young mother trying to see, how am I going to help my son who is actually struggling with addiction? This is about maybe some workplaces where people are struggling with productivity. People actually affected in a negative way. So we are saying that it is not just about the plant, it's about the people. How can we ensure that these people are safe, these people are healthy, and for the entire well-being of Kenyans? What can we be able to do to reverse the negative effects? Of course, when you're talking about scientific research on how we can be able to also derive some of the benefits from the medicine that is coming out of that. And mark you, these are things that go through rigorous clinical trials. These are things that are actually prescribed by professionals under particular condition, and it's actually also monitored. So it is not bedeviling it. It is also acknowledging that some of these derivatives can actually be used in a positive way. But as a country, we are struggling with the negative effects. And that's why we, as a nation, have ratified some of the international treaties regarding the same. And of course, the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Bill has actually made it illegal. So the conversation is beyond. As in, when we look at the Constitution of Kenya, for example, Article 32 recognizes religion, that we all belong to different religions. But that also has to be read in tandem with Article 43 and 53, which talks about issues of public health, but also talks about protection of children.
Just hold that thought there as I go to Honorable Priest.